welcome back to Sister Brunch with me, Fanshen Cox.
And me, Anya Adams. We're continuing to uplift and support Black women plus, making it in the entertainment industry. Today's guest is Winter Dunn, an award-winning producer, director, and actress who's appeared in Netflix's Drug Lords and Issa Rae's Insecure. Winter's best known as a producer on Numa Perrier's debut feature film, Jezebel, which premiered at South by Southwest 2019. It won the Best Narrative Feature at the American Black Film Festival and has since been acquired by Ava DuVernay and is now streaming on Netflix. Day to day, Winter produces and directs digital editorial content for Condé Nast Entertainment, which has garnered over 60 million views. Winter's also directed multiple web series, including Platonic, which streamed on NBC's Watchback app. Most recently, she directed the short film JUNEBUG, which I'm so excited to talk about. And it's about a relationship between a Black father and his daughter, which premiered at the American Black Film Festival. So, yeah.
Hey, Winter Dunn, we are so glad to have you on. I am fangirling yet again because I got to meet you very briefly at South by Southwest after watching Jezebel and follow you on Twitter and all that good stuff. So we're so excited. And I would have asked you all these questions when I first met you, but you didn't have time.
I know, it was crazy.
You had fans all around you. So
I missed you, Winter, on Insecure because I did the first 2 episodes of season 2.
Oh, amazing.
You're episode 3. Like, I was the first AD on the show, so I feel like I just missed you, so I'm so happy you're here.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. I'm so happy that we connected and I'm here. This is going to be fun.
We love to start off just by sharing the journey because we have a lot of listeners who kind of want access or want to know what things are like or how to get into the entertainment industry. And so, yeah, tell us where you started and how you got to where you are.
Oh man, it's been a crazy journey. I feel like I'm still in that journey even now. I've always been a performer. I've been in art school since I want to say 6th grade. I was a dancer. I've performed around the world, around the country. As a dancer, and then my sophomore year in high school, I was like, I think I want to try acting for stage and theater. And so I was introduced to the Chicago Academy for the Arts, auditioned a week before my junior year of high school started, got in a couple of days later, and within a week, literally, I was like commuting from Indiana to Chicago every day. To go to art school. Yeah. And I was a dancer, and now I'm an actress, and I've never done it before.
What kind of dance were you doing?
Oh, I was doing everything. It was full range ballet, jazz. I've been to Ballet Chicago, deeply rooted, modern dance, tap dancer, hip hop dancer. I actually have done a little hip hop in LA, but I keep those videos very much under wraps.
We gonna find you. We gonna find you.
Oh Lord, I didn't say too much. My dancer friends are like, call me. I got all the goods. But no, then I went to Fordham University in New York, got my theater degree. I just knew I'm going to be a theater actress, director, came to LA and thought, how do I translate all these skill sets I have? I've been training as an artist my whole life, and I've been training like my sense of taste and what I like, my eye, but I hadn't obviously had the skills in production to really execute anything I could see in my mind's eye. So when I got here, I just got on set. Every set I was allowed to be on, I was PAing. I eventually obviously started producing, doing some production management stuff. And honestly, putting myself out there was the thing that changed everything.
So you moved here and you were like, I know I got a PA. How did you get your first PA job?
That's interesting. So when I first moved here, I was working at Fred Siegel doing retail because I had rent and I had to figure that thing out. But about a year in, I was like, okay, it's really easy to get sucked in, right? The money was good. It's good commission. It's a good store. And I was like, if you don't leave, you're going to get sucked in. And in 20 years, you're going to be in the fashion industry somewhere wondering, how did I find myself here? So I just walked out and said, I'll drive Uber, I'll drive Lyft, I'll do whatever I got to do. I'll take gigs. I'll work it out. I'm still young. I can afford to starve a little bit. It'll be okay. And that's what I did. That time, it allowed me to just put myself. So, I mean, literally everywhere I went, oh, you work in production. What do you do? Oh, well, I'm really entering production. I have a degree in theater. You know, I've been doing this for a while. I really would love to shadow. I'd love to PA. I'd love to help. And at one point it was like, I'll do it for free. I just need to get in the room. I'll do it for free. So people were like, okay. And I got there and I started sucking up everything. I remember one of my DPs I still work with. He was like, I remember that first day on set with you, and I thought, that girl's got something. I was like absorbing like a sponge. Why is the camera there? What's the eye line? What you mean when you say cross the line? Why did you shoot it like this? How does that connect to the story? Like, just immersing myself. And then I slowly just started building. And then you take a job, you really don't know what you're doing, but you're like, I'm going to figure that thing out. You get those skill sets and then you do it again. And next thing you know, you look back and you go, we built something. We've been building this whole time. Wow. And now I'm happy to say I'm finally more comfortable. Just able to say I'm working in the industry, you know. I don't have to eat
your own
blank
film
pasta every day. I've made my own film. Like it's a really powerful feeling. So I'm
Winter, did you have connections to any, you know, because something that's discouraging often is like people are like, oh, it's who you know, you got to know somebody. Did you have those kind of networks or connections?
Not in film. You know, when I moved here, my friend, I slept on her couch that first summer. I moved here in May, and I got my first apartment in August. She's a dancer from my second high school, right? And I mean, I knew a couple of actors from theater in New York. I did a play with some of that group of actors. One of the writers I knew helped me find an apartment. So stuff like that. But even that was like 3 years in. It wasn't, I moved here and I had a platter of a network to go, here's everything. It was really me out in these streets, not out in these streets, but you know what I mean? Like just putting myself out there. I was on Facebook groups, like it's one called GNO something, like Girls Night Out. And I was like, hi, I work in production. I act a little bit. If you need a girl I was just like, anything I can do. And if I can get maybe $100, $125 to put in my rent jar, great. Like it was that. So I love that you guys have listeners who are really trying to break in, because I'm also passionate about not like painting this like elegant journey, because that's, for most of us, that's not it. We're out here hustling, working our butts off, and when you get that one victory, you hold on to it, because you know it's been years in the making trying to get that like one opportunity.
This is Sister Brunch with Fanshen Cox and Anya Adams. Stay tuned for more of our conversation with Winter Dunn. We're back with our conversation with award-winning producer, director, and actress Winter Dunn.
I love how you said you still work with that DP from the one job that you stepped on, because I think it's really important for people to remember too, as you move through this, even if you don't know what you're doing, you're making impressions on people, or you're remembering people you want to work with, and you're starting to build your own kind of team and world. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, he DP'd JUNEBUG. And he was like, I got you. This is your first film. I got you, girl. And I mean, we've loved each other. It comes from the work. That's my thing. Everyone I know, everyone I like in this business, I don't think I'm a master networker the way some people in LA are. They just know how to like do the business. I'm not really like that. I'm like, do we connect on the work? Does it come from a place of authenticity? Like, can this be sustainable? Then you're my people. And that way, the people I have around me, even though it might not be a ton, they're good people, and they're people who get me, and I get them, and I can trust them, and vice versa. And so that's something I'm trying to just hold on to. Like, keep it about the work. All the other stuff will be all the other stuff, but if you keep it about the work, you'll build something sustainable.
Speaking of that too, how did you navigate like being a Black woman? I'm always curious, when you first come out here and you're kind of doing PA work, are you focused on Black and brown folks that are doing productions and that's how you get your in? Or do you kind of, obviously we all hope to just be broadly accepted,
right? But
are there limitations there? You know what I mean? Like, did you find that there were differences, or that you were able to just work on any set you wanted to once they saw how hard you would work? No,
I will say, I mean, and I guess this was a little bit of strategy. It's like, find your community and you'll probably be more welcomed than having nothing in common with this group of people. So for me, it was Black and brown folks, but then it was also comedy, because I went to UCB. I got an amazing comedy scholarship at UCB after my first year. I was like, you want to nominate me for this thing? Okay. And then I ended up winning this comedy scholarship. So I had these two kind of networks, and I had to decide which one fits more my vibe, which one is more accepting of me. And so I started working with like Black web series and like Black, like really indie production companies, but companies who I was like, this is dope work though. Like, you know, there's not a whole bunch of money, there's no ego in it, but I like what y'all doing. And then with Platonic, that was more of like the other side, that comedy side. Once I was doing Jezebel and they saw me working, I had a friend reach out and go, hey, I have this web series and I know nothing about production, but I do sketch writing and, you know, improv comedy. Come on board, talking about just friends, and you learn as you go. You're like, yeah, I can direct your web series. Sure. I have a good eye. I know story. And it turned out to be great. And then, you know, it just, you find, I think finding community helps you, because it's a big city and you can get real lost real fast.
And then is that how you connected with Numa Perrier to eventually produce that? Exactly. I mean, that's the story right there, is to network with like-minded people, then work your tail off when you are on set or when you get that job so that you stand out, and then maintain those relationships so that you end up with this award-winning feature film.
I know. It really is crazy. It's like PA to producer.
Yeah, okay. That is impressive.
You just said, I know what a good story is, and I know I have a good eye, and I think that's like a really important thing for people to have as a guiding light as they move through, is to trust themselves and their gut. And, you know, as you've moved up, you've honed that, but those things are also important in this industry, not just the ability to X, Y, and Z, but like one of the things that's so important to me is that, you know, Black women are able to tell their stories, and we aren't a monolith. There is like just such a massive amounts of different perspectives and stories and, you know, things to tell. And so knowing that you are so strong in what you're guiding, you know, your heart there is like, I love that, because when you get into those bigger rooms, you have to be strong in that, you know, so that you can marshal that forward and not get like knocked over by the white wave of like, you know, no, the story should be this way or that way.
And that's what I mean by you can get lost real fast here. It's real easy to go, oh, that's what I'm supposed to like. Oh, that's what I'm supposed and you're just following this thing. And I've done it. I'm not, you know, obviously I'm hitting the highlights, but I've had my moments of chasing the thing that everyone tells me is right. And I've had to learn real lessons from it. I think you learn a couple of lessons and you go, all right. Noted.
Can we talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's really interesting for people coming up. Like,
yeah, of course. I think now, like, even when it comes to hopping on a project, right? At a certain point, you don't have the luxury, like, you feel like you don't have the luxury of not taking a project. And I don't mean like my manager's calling with like the Warner Brothers script. Like, I don't mean that kind of call. I mean, oh boy, I met at that one workshop is writing this thing, you know? Like, that's what it is for a long time, just building that body of work. And for a long time, I'm a person, I do too much. That Capricorn in me, I can't help it. I will say, it's almost like that starvation mentality goes, we will never starve again. We will never. I will always have something. I will always be in something. And while that can be motivating and inspiring and can push me, it can also sometimes put me in positions where I'm on a project and I know I'm not the right person to tell this story. I know it. I know that I'm not the one to facilitate this. I know I really don't have the skill set or that sense of mentorship on this project to help me navigate it. Be honest about those things. You know, just say, you know what? I love you. I love what you're doing. I support you. But honestly, I don't think I'm the right person to tell this story. As opposed to getting caught up in it, and then you're like, why am I in this? What am I doing? I don't want to be here. I knew I didn't want to be here, and I thought I would find a way in it, and I'm not, because it's not for me. So that, I would say, is me saying, trust yourself, even if that means not really knowing what's next, because what's next is coming. You just got to trust that. Like, it's coming. So let me make myself available and prepared for whatever that is going to be.
Oh my goodness.
Those are wise words. I love
that. Like that is
so good
important.
though, because it's allowing the space for the right project to come. Like if you're too busy doing some bullshit over here, you can't be ready.
And maybe to your point too, maybe it's not bullshit to that person. You know what I'm saying? You know, in this sense of like, but knowing what you want to do, knowing, right, and like what strengths you can bring or not to a project is that is everything. And what is great about it too is that it then gives you your creative time back, and then you end up making your own film. So let's talk about JUNEBUG.
Yes!
You know,
that was a beautiful segue. I love that.
For real, like that yeah, you gave yourself the open space to do that. So yes.
So JUNEBUG. Oh, I love this piece, y'all. This feels like I birthed my first baby. Like I've been like midwifing all these other babies, and I love them and I want them to thrive and grow and succeed. But JUNEBUG feels like my first, and I'm very excited about it. It's a short film, 17 minutes around that time point, about a woman named Junie, and she's writing this novel about her past and about her childhood. And in that writing, she gets caught up with, you know, these blockages, these moments that she can't quite get through, and she uses music and writing and her current relationships to help her through those memories and through that past work. It's a really special piece. It's a really personal piece. I
was gonna ask. So are there connections to your story in it?
Yeah. So me and my dad, I love my dad. You know, I wouldn't be the artist I am without my dad. I might not be as social and able to like have fun and connect with people without my dad. He is a, you know, amazing guy. At the same time, he has his brokenness, and he has his own past that I don't know about what he's been through. And in that, we have a relationship that isn't typical. I won't say wrong. It's not typical. Same with my writer. I commissioned a playwright actually to write her first film, which is JUNEBUG. And a lot of that past stuff, her father was a musician. He was an alcoholic. So we were really, we sat down and I said, Nikki, you know, when have we ever seen a dad even close to our father in film and television? In regard to his daughter, not a father-son narrative, because we have a ton of those, but a father-daughter narrative, a Black father-daughter. I feel like it's always that dad that's not there. It's just kind of like a mom and no dad, or it's Moesha and the dad is like the most protective and like trying to get the #1 dad award. And I went, there's a lot of complexity there. There's a lot of stuff in that world that we don't see. Why don't we try to tell a slice of our stories and put a little bit of our heart out there and see if it resonates with anyone else?
Hi, it's Anya, and you're listening to Sister Brunch. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Sister Brunch. I'm Anya, and we're back with Winter Dunn.
Can you talk a little bit more about, I think it's so important to break down this process of producing, you know, on the producer end that you said you commissioned a playwright. So, you know, obviously whatever specifics you can share, but how did you go about doing that? Why did you decide to do that? Could you talk numbers if you're comfortable? Like, what was that process like?
Yeah, well, honestly, this film is real, I'll say low key, at the beginning at least. It felt like I want to be a creative. Who do I want to create with? But obviously as a producer, you got to protect yourself. You got to, you know, think ahead and go, okay, who has the rights if we decide to do this? Like, how do I just put myself in a position to properly care for this child, right? This movie. And so with bringing in Nikki, I knew I wanted to, I'm not a writer. I've been writing, and I think I will write my own pieces down the line. But right now, it just feels like a distraction I don't need. And I know so many great writers. I'm like, I have ideas, I have stories, I have images in my head. Let me connect with someone who knows how to put beautiful language to those images, who knows how to craft good story. Talking about before, you know, coming to LA knowing I know a story, I've been in theater, like I'm not completely new, even though this is a new medium. And connecting with Nikki Davis, she's a Yale graduate, playwright, novelist. I've worked with her in the theater for years, and we always said we work together. So I knew she would bring just the right sensibilities, that warm, rich language that you get in a good play, where you're like, ooh, this writer is going like crazy, right?
Yes.
So I hit her up, asked her if that's something she would even be interested in. You know, some writers are like, no, I want to write my work and that'll be that. But she was like, girl, I'm in. We had paperwork and everything, of course, just make sure everyone's protected. But once we got past that, that was kind of, we had a final draft in 2 weeks. I had a first draft in 3 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
3 days.
One weekend. Yep. And that was my first week at Condé Nast. So I took my first Friday off at the company and I shot the movie and I was back at work on Monday. It was crazy.
Oh my goodness.
I produced the Jada Pinkett Smith shoot that first week. That first Friday, had to put someone on to actually physically shoot it because she was shooting Friday. Left, shot JUNEBUG Friday, Saturday, Sunday, at work 9 a.m. Monday for the staff meeting. Back.
Oh my god.
It was insane.
We got to talk a little bit more about JUNEBUG, but also we do have to talk about your job because it's a perfect, like, quote unquote survival job. Obviously beyond survival job, but to do. But I love the point that you make with JUNEBUG about the simplicity of a story, about relationships. I think a lot of times, especially when someone wants to go do their first short, you talked about this too. There's pressure to like, is this going to be commercial or is this going to make it into a festival? And that you knew that you wanted to talk about this relationship between a father and daughter and a Black father and daughter. And I just think that is so important, that it's okay and good to tell the small stories, you know what I mean, that are still going to resonate, that are meaningful quietly, you know what
I love that.
They're quiet, but like those quiet moments that like really are building blocks for all these young Black women that are watching television and short films and so on and seeing themselves. They need to see themselves as superheroes, but also just to see themselves related to. I totally.
It's that human piece.
Yes.
I always want to come back. What's the truth? Just come back to the truth.
Yes.
And like you said, it might not be the biggest, flashiest story, but most of the times our lives aren't the biggest, flashiest. The moments where you're like really sitting with yourself are quiet and intimate, and you oftentimes don't feel like you're seen in those moments because you're oftentimes alone. So I wanted to bring that sense of intimacy to the film and trust that it'll find its people. Like it'll find the people who get it, who feel that heart. So
then what was it like to direct something that was so personal and that you had such a stake in? Like,
I love directing it. The producing stuff is when I'm like racking my brain like, oh, is it gonna be good? When I'm on set, that's when I go back to like a theater artist. I'm on set like comfortable, sometimes no shoes. I'm just in it with you. If you on the ground, I'm on the ground. Like it just feels like a really authentic. Once I know that me and my DP are on the same page, because I do take visuals very important. That's how I dream film. I see images first before I hear story, before I know what it's about. I can like see this little kid. I see the lighter. I see them in their house. What's going on in that house? Like, you know, so once I know like me and my DP are really on the same page, like, you know what I'm doing. I trust you. All right, you go with your people. Y'all do your setup. Cool. AD, keep us on track. And then I'm with the actors. I'm like, where we at? What's the work? Like, and it's like that theater approach of what's in this moment right now is the moment. And trust that. I've learned that from Numa as well. I've learned that in the theater, but obviously that's a different rehearsal process. And you can trust yourself in that way because you know we'll fine tune and all those things. But watching Numa work on Jezebel and her just trusting that we are in this moment for a purpose and you're my actor for a reason and you're bringing the work, I'm bringing the work, and we're trusting that. It's not manipulating this moment. Trust this moment because this is true now.
This is Sister Brunch with Fanshen Cox and Anya Adams. Stay tuned for more of our conversation with triple threat Winter Dunn.
back to Sister Brunch. I'm Fanshen Cox, and we are back with Winter Dunn. So now we got to talk about the job. For real, this is the dream situation, right? Where I think, obviously, I can imagine, again, being a Black woman, working in an industry that is not led by Black folks, right? But it's a pretty sweet situation. So tell us how you got this job and what you do. What does it look like?
Oh my goodness. So Condé Nast, I was referred. I had been on the hunt. Like, I need a consistent job, like that gig life. I was like, I just can't stress. I am so tired. But going back to that retail thing, I knew I did not want a job completely outside of the industry. Obviously you're never going to get the perfect quote unquote day job, but I was like, I can't not be on set. Like, I have to figure it out. And I just was praying on it, going back to my old advice, my friend first thing in LA, she said, tell everybody you need a job. And then it'll find itself.
Good point.
So I went back to that, telling everybody I know, hey, I'm looking for a consistent gig in the industry. To be honest, I don't even know what that looks like. There's so many different ways to go about that, but I'm putting it out there. And a friend of mine actually who came to South by with us hit me up right after and was like, hey, Condé's looking for a new producer director. And they just reached out saying they're looking for some new people to add to their pool. Can I send you in? I think you'd be great. Absolutely, you can do that. 3 months passed, nothing happened. I'm like, oh, they moved on. I got a position at Propagate, which is an amazing company. I was the executive assistant, actually, for the head of production and the head of business affairs. So once again, I'm on all those calls, just like, oh, that's what the head of a production company of this size will be talking about. Oh, that's what she actually does, right? Like, I have ideas, but until I'm in the room and physically, absorbing it, to be honest, I'm sometimes winging it. But Condé finally called, and I was like, they're like, are you still looking for positions? Sorry, we had to figure out some stuff in New York before we could even open up the job out here. And I was like, absolutely. Told my boss that morning, I'm sorry, I've only been here 3 weeks. But the job I was waiting for showed up, so I gotta go.
Yes.
Best of luck to you. She's an amazing woman. She understood. She was like, you have to take that. I was like, I do. And when I got there, it was in some ways a huge learning curve, right? I've been working on, low budget digital content. Honestly, just more of a vibe. Like, we're feeling inspired and we're following that inspiration, and it's just ooh, this is not that, right? It's we have Jada Pinkett Smith on this date, honey, and I know that's in 3 days, but she's booked, and there's a production that needs to happen. So it was hyperdrive. That first 3 months, I was like, whoa, I am stressed and I'm scared, right?
Yes.
Especially I'm the only Black woman producing content. I was thankful to have a supervising producer, Tiffany Bender, who was so important to my journey there, just making me not feel alone, making sure I wasn't alone, and having someone I could really talk to changed everything. But it was tough, right? And it's not one shoot every 4 weeks. It's you have 3 shoots a week, and we are knocking them out, and you're dealing with these celebrity schedules and publicists and all these people I'm not used to having to coordinate. And then Condé's also a bit corporate, so you got to go through all these channels to get things approved. And it just really strengthened that producer brain. There was no room to forget or to slip or to go, oh, my bad. There's no room. The shoot has to happen. So,
and also I feel you probably developed your the aesthetically, because Condé Nast is so stunning in its shooting. So you're not just slapping up an interview. You're really finding beautiful shots, and that must have been really interesting too, because your creative brain also has to be on overdrive.
Exactly. That's what's fascinating. They want, in LA at least, producer directors, and on the East Coast it's not like that. It's you produce or you direct, and you just keep those things separate. So for me, it really forced me, because at some point I would lose creative, because I'm so overwhelmed with details and logistics. I'm just it has to happen, and then one day I stop and go, what do you want to see in this? Why would you want to even shoot this? What's the point? Where's the fun? Where's the love? Where's your own touch? And just like you said, it was okay, don't forget, there's other skill sets to strengthen here. And I think that directing, that you have to hone that working with Condé, because you don't get multiple takes and a rehearsal walkthrough. It's just, You show up, we're shooting in 2 hours. You start moving that, you start setting up DP. Let's start walking through where we're going to do boom, 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 boom. We got to knock this out and then feel like it's been an effortless day when talent arrives and like everything's all good and we're ready to shoot,
And you have to give that too, that feeling of like, hey,
it's a performance. Oh, 100%. You're like, oh, I'm chilling. Would you like coffee? Can you grab a coffee? Like, oh, it's totally fine. Like, you're with Conde now, right?
Wait. I have to ask, since we've said her name a couple times, what was it like to work with Jada Pinkett Smith? And we could just.
So the sad thing is the shoot. So I was hired Monday. The shoot was Friday. I took the first Friday off to shoot JUNEBUG.
To shoot your film, yes.
So I literally was like, guys, I'm so sorry. Friday, that was a day I had booked out. I didn't say what. I made it sound like, another job had booked me for a commercial shoot I have to run to. But I was like, I'm booked out Friday. I didn't know I would be assigned, a shoot my first day at the first meeting. Welcome to the company. But so I didn't get to work with her personally, but I've definitely met people from her team. Yeah, and some of them have actually seen JUNEBUG. So
do you feel like they were scrambling because they were like, Jada Pinkett Smith needs to know that there's a Black woman on there that's producing this stuff?
In some ways, yes. And I think Tiffany, the Black supervising producer, she's also wanted to be like, y'all will not put her in the back and shuffle her as like a little. No. She made sure to be like, this woman has a ton of. This is after Jezebel, so she's like, you're not gonna pretend like this Black woman is not qualified, if not overqualified. To do this work. So she was really intentional about putting me on those shoots at the beginning, so that I could prove myself. And then once I was able to do that, then she didn't have to push. It was like people already understood. Okay, cool. We can trust her. She knows what she's doing.
Hey, it's Fanshen, and you're listening to Sister Brunch. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
We're back to our conversation with award-winning producer, director, and actress Winter Dunn.
What is it like working digitally? Like kind of in that digital space.
Digital versus like film.
And then also since lockdown, since COVID too. I'm just curious what is that like?
Right. Well, Conde and COVID for me was a lot. It was just a lot to have so many meetings, so many shoots, and remote shooting and shooting on Zoom, and then having the backup QuickTime recording, and then having them send footage. And I was like, this is a lot. This is a lot. And now I'm on a bit of a mental health break. I don't know if I even said that earlier, but
good. I
was at Conde all throughout COVID, and then I had the pleasure of being brought on to direct All Her with Angela Rye, the first season for Quibi. And so now I'm like, I'm chilling. I have to just like rest my brain a bit.
Good.
But when I was obviously in studio and in the office, honestly, it was like that speed. And also, like, you couldn't be as stylized. Like, with JUNEBUG, I could really manipulate light and really have fun about how I craft this image. And I think the hardest part of digital, and I mean, and people can say this too for, like, commercial directors, it's like, it's not your vision, it's not your project. You have to create something beautiful that fits a brand and an aesthetic that has been established for a very long time.
Yeah.
And you're also doing it with talent who walking in with their own day and their own press, whatever they've been in. And you have to mold and shape them to be and perform whatever the aesthetic is, whether it's Vanity Fair or Vogue or GQ or whoever. It's like, all right, how do I get the moments, the sound bites that fit this brand while also having my own little flavor and putting my own little thing to it. So that's the hardest, and it's quick too. Conde is so quick, so you always feel like you're missing something. Like, what did I forget? What did I forget? What did I forget?
Imagine.
And you're like, oh, that's for tomorrow's shoot, not today's shoot. Okay, what did I forget? Whatever, it's just a lot of pieces, but it makes you strong, makes you smart.
Yes.
There's no other option.
Can we just talk a little bit about mental health break? Because I think that's fucking important to talk about. You are in a very successful realm working on a bunch of different things, but you have chosen to take some time. Can you talk about like how you do that? Because I think people feel like they can't.
Yeah. For me, it sometimes gets to a point, and I've had an interesting journey with mental health. I didn't know I was a deeply anxious person when I was younger. Graduating college in New York alone put me in some dark places. And so I had to really learn, okay, you're capable of going to dark places mentally. I think we all are. And that's nothing to be ashamed of. But you have to be aware of yourself, of your cycles, your own breaking point. And I could just feel I'm pushing up on a breaking point. I feel it. If I'm not present, if I'm not healthy, both mentally and physically, how am I going to show up anywhere and be creative and bring anything to the room? I'll just be burning bridges at that point, because they'll hire me thinking I'm whatever, and I get there and I will be nothing that they expected because I'm asleep. And that's where I was getting to that point. And so I said, you know what? Going back to trusting yourself, I have to trust myself enough to say, you need to sit down. Right now, you just need to sit down, and that job will be there or whatever. It'll be there next year. You will be fine. But I could just feel it in my spirit, and I feel that there's something creatively inside of me, and I don't know really what it is. And so I just want to take the time to light incense and journal and listen to jazz and sit with my dog and take walks. And be like, what do you want to say now? Like, JUNEBUG is doing great. What do you want to say? Like, authentically. So I'll let y'all know when I find it. I don't know what it is.
Speaking of mental health, we do record these on Saturday mornings, and we're not going to keep taking up your time because it's a Saturday morning, and we should all go continue our beautiful, hopefully relaxing journaling, lighting the incense. But we have to know, how can we support you? How can where can our listeners find you and support your work and watch your meteoric rise to fame, which we are now all certain. I'm calling it.
I love y'all. I feel like I'm with family. I'm I don't ever want to leave.
Yes, you are.
This is great. So if you want to, I would say, honestly, I don't know if this is appropriate, but social media is the best way to keep attached to me. At JUNEBUG Film is our Instagram for the film. And then I'm at It's Winter Dunn. My website, winterdunn.com. I'm always posting updates and all the things. But honestly, if you want to know what's next and you want to support, connect with me on social media. I'm looking for people who feel the vibe. So if you like it, come join us. Let's make films.
I love that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Winter. It was great to have you on. I know this will be so inspiring. This was the
highlight of my week. This was so fantastic. So thank you for having me.
That was our conversation with the lovely, talented, multi-hyphenate Winter Dunn. Go to sisterbrunch.com to learn more about her work and how to keep up with her on social media. Like she said, that's where you can reach out to her. So do that and learn more about her and from her. And also, we just have to say thank you so much for listening to Sister Brunch with me, Fanshen Cox, and with Anya Adams. And you can follow us on a bunch of places. So follow us on Instagram at Sister Brunch Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Sister Brunch. Come and catch up with us and interact with us and make suggestions for shows or questions or, people you want to hear from, and support our work by reviewing the show and sharing the show, and support the work of all of these amazing Black women plus guests that we have. If you're on Facebook, go to facebook.com/sisterbrunchpodcast. Our show producer is Brittany Turner. Our executive producer is Christabel Nsiabwadi. We acknowledge that the land we record our podcast on is the original land of the Tongva people, for those of us in Los Angeles, and the Coast Salish for Anya in Vancouver. We'll talk to you all again soon.